This really has a pretty good feel to it. I'm going to miss it.
Can you throw it?
I could. I think it's smiled upon. It's pretty. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, huh?
They threw it at us.
You all right with that?
Hit me and I reported on it and just say it was fake news. So.
This time we'll call the meeting to order. Is there someone who'd like to offer an invocation?
Let's pray. Father God, we are grateful to live in the country in which we do, to be part of this amazing state and this great community. We're grateful, God, for the men and women that you have called to lead this community, and pray, Father, a special blessing for each one of them, that they would hear your voice, God, that they would know your leading, and that they would make decisions that are the best for this community, no matter what they are. Lord, we know sometimes it's tough to make good decisions, especially when you're choosing between good and great. It's also, Lord, you never make everybody happy. And so we know they have a tough job. But Father, please lead them and guide them in all they do and the decisions they make today. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do have one amendment to the agenda, and that's under appointments. We do need to add Housing Authority to that.
First item on the agenda is the city attorney contract.
Justin Farrell's been our city attorney here since this past August and has done a nice job for us. He recently separated from Brewer Law Firm at the end of December, and so as a result, we do need to execute a new contract with him as a Farrell Law Office, and that contract is before you in your packet. Tonight we're going to ask for your approval. If you have any questions about that, you're welcome to ask Justin or I.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the contract as printed.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Sacco and seconded by Commissioner Hash to execute the contract as stated between Farrell Law Office and the City of Concordia. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving forward to commission reorganization.
I will read you the election results from the election on, I believe, November 7th. I'm going to read all of the write-in votes because they're fun. Gary Girardeau Jr., 243. Mark Matthew, 625. Keaton Snavely, 377. Barack Obama, 1. Deborah Vanos, 1. Donald Trump, 1. Lisa Brewer, 267. Lyle Pounds, 1. Patricia Owensby McFarland, 1. Tim Parker, 1. And Verna Blanding, 1. So for that, I will name Mark Matthew and Keaton Snavely as being elected to the City Commission. And trying to remember the order all this goes in. All right, so if Mark will come up, I will do the oath for him. And we need to go up here where we can be seen.
Oh.
Not me in the background smiling.
So if you raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Mark Matthew,
I, Mark Matthew,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge the duties of City Commissioner,
and faithfully discharge the duties of City Commissioner,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. And if you will sign this. And then we can take your place. Yes.
move you out, and if you will, so before you step down, I'll go ahead and present you with your plaque. So Lyle has been a faithful city commissioner for 6 years, almost 7, thanks to the new law. And you've been very much appreciated by all of the staff. We appreciate your level head, and I will certainly miss you. And I appreciate your hard work. And we also have a key to the city.
Congratulations, Lyle.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Lyle. Appreciate it.
While I'm doing that, I guess. So we always present a plaque to the mayor each year, and this is for Chuck's work for the last year.
Thank you, Stacy.
Thank
Keep it going. Trying to see if I can pull it apart.
Speech.
We'll pass. It's been an honor. It's very humbling to be here. It's wonderful to have the opportunity to be able to be a part of the efforts going on in this community. Certainly don't think that it is of this position, but rather the job that helps facilitate it and all the work that's done by everyone else. So this is a fun place to be, but all the work's going on somewhere else.
All right, so at this point, this is when you will all elect your next mayor.
I would move to appoint Sam Sacco as mayor.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Lambert, seconded by Commissioner Hash, to appoint Sam Sacco as mayor. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
And next will be Mayor Pro Tem.
I move to appoint Chuck Lamberts as Mayor Pro Tem.
I'll second that.
It's been moved by Commissioner Hash and seconded by Commissioner Sacco to appoint Chuck Lamberts as mayor pro tem. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
If you want to break for a small reception, we'll do that at this point.
Change seats.
Yes, sir. Or should we separate the newbies, or do we want to encircle them? Psychology to how we sit. This time I think we're going to recess to a reception for outgoing Commissioner Pounds and incoming Commissioner Mark Matthew.
Everybody loves a loser. Everybody loves a loser.
I don't know, that's entirely accurate, Jim. Some people
It's easy to love a winner.
I did want to say something. Keaton Snavely isn't here. That's why he didn't get sworn in. So I just wanted that for the record.
Hopefully he'll be here next time.
Yes.
Not to out him or anything, but I believe he's also spent time at the Bibbidi Boppity Boutique. So if you other commissioners haven't had the opportunity to visit that, I think it's starting to become a standing kind of expectation.
My kids are all too old.
You're never too old for Bibbidi.
I'm too old.
See, I've lost control already. All righty.
It's a thin veil, Sam.
Approval of the minutes.
I'm sure that it's already been changed, but there was a typo toward the end. You know where I'm talking about? Well, it was obviously just a typo because it was a bunch of consonants put together.
Mayor, Commissioner comments and reports, second line.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. After Mayor Lambert's.
did something.
Commented, I'm sure,
Oh, there
or
you go.
commended.
Oh, commended.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Sounds like the way Chuck does.
We want to get that one right.
Usually not this early. in the
It was
evening.
positive.
Somebody, I
was not
swear
very
somebody
happy.
sabotages my files.
That could be, that could be.
They just move the keys over on your keyboard.
And with that correction, I move that we amend approve the minutes as corrected.
I second.
Christie has made a motion. Mark has seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Same sign. Approved. Moving on, financial matters. Appropriation ordinance 24.
I have a question. What are there's a numerous amount of people there, and I didn't quite understand what the $30 payments are for. For various people in there, the $30 is for each of them.
Oh, it's the,
Referees
The
usually.
first 3 hours of pay for our reserve firefighter.
Oh, okay. 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 Just curious.
Other times will have to be youth referees.
Okay. I move that we approve ordinance 24 financial report.
Second?
Flip a coin.
Chris has got it.
It is, motion been made by Mark, seconded by Christie. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All righty. Public comments. Nice peaceful night. Okay, no comments out there. Public comments are closed. Appointments, Recreational Advisory Board.
We approve of
Oh, okay, got it.
You have the applications in front of you. The only recommendation I would make is being that we're losing 3 males, being Trevor being one of them that we would add. As far as the other applications, doesn't really make any difference to me. They all have separate quality, good quality, so I'm moving for that. And I think, I talked to Stacy a little bit about, in the rules, there's no set limit of what the recreation board has to have, so just keep
Who do
that
we
in
have
mind.
on it right now? Who else do we have?
Chrissy Henderson, Becky Kendall, Ryan Harms are all, they started in October-ish. They're the most recent ones. And then Regina Belden is on her second or third term. And then Mike Hake, put me on the spot here. Derek Hiddle and Kenny Allen, yeah, thank you, are the ones that their terms are expiring. And none of them have applied to,
So Mike,
Reapply.
Derek, and Kenny.
yes, are the ones going out, and none of them have reapplied.
So that's 3, 4, 5 that are
And
on it,
myself, yeah,
and yourself.
yeah.
And then this would be adding 3?
Well, replacing the 3 that are leaving. So there's actually 8 right now,
Oh, okay.
So then,
counting the 3 that are leaving.
okay.
So we would drop down to 5, and then these are the new applications. So it'd be me and Ryan, and then the four ladies still.
There's nothing in the bylaws that limits the number of participants?
Not that I know of.
What are your thoughts on having a larger versus a smaller advisory group?
It doesn't bother me at all, personally. The more ideas and more people to bounce things off of, especially of different backgrounds.
I think you got
You
people
know, the better. You know, they, like I said, all the applications, they have separate quality, good quality, so.
And as I'm looking through the list, I guess I'd go ahead and just make a motion to appoint Trevor Appleby, Amy Bridwell, Jenny Acree, and Shirley LeDuc for the Recreation Advisory Board.
Do I have a
I'd
second?
second it.
Chuck has made the motion, Mark has seconded it. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Housing Authority Board is next.
Last meeting, you mentioned the possibility of the board expanding the membership. And at that point, because of rural development, I wasn't sure if we'd be able to. So I had Sheila Jackson, the property manager, ask, and they said it didn't matter. We could set the rules on that. They just needed a copy of our bylaws if we changed it. So I read the bylaws this morning, and it doesn't even list the number of members we should have, which I think we will be changing that. The only thing it does mention is it mentions a quorum as 3. So, with that, I would really like to recommend that Kristen Bolte be appointed to the Housing Authority. I'd really like to see her. Did talk to her this morning, and she said she would really be interested in doing it. And Sheila's in favor of having another voice on there.
I move to appoint Kristen Bolt to the Housing Authority Board.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mark making the motion to approve, Christian seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Motion passes.
Thanks for looking into that, Stacy.
Old business, 6th Street water line change order.
Good evening. You have in your packet, I believe, the actual signed change order by myself, or by our company and by APAC Shears. The change order did change between the time I brought it to you and the time I brought it to you now. We added a line. If you look, what used to be 5 lines is now 6. The 5th line, we discovered that there was a unit misidentified on the bid item as square feet, and it should have been square yards. Doesn't change the price or anything, because the price is already set, but we just thought now while we were making changes, we would just correct that at the same time. I've talked to them. They're thinking that if we get the plans to them this week, that there's a chance they can still start at the end of January. They've ordered some material based upon the proposals, and it's not looking good to be here before the end of January. So probably right after the 1st of February before they can get started.
Did they order those right after we?
They actually ordered them right after we sent you guys approved the change order at the last meeting.
Mhm.
They ordered them then.
Right then? Okay.
And they took a risk because they didn't have a contract at that point.
Okay. So there's a reason I'm a social worker and not a mathematician, but when we talked about changing square footage to square yards, the number on the right didn't change. It was just mislabeled.
Correct. The unit. There's a unit price and an extension. The unit price is already set. The extension is already set by contract. But the unit, which was square feet, would not actually work out in the actual amount of work that was done. It was square yards. And what had happened is, going back through our quantities when we calculated them, just at the last minute, they took square feet divided by 9 and come up with square yards, but didn't change the square foot item.
Okay.
So their price doesn't change at all.
Because there are more,
There's a bunch more, 9 times more.
that's what I recall, but pretty shaky at this point.
Now, there's actually almost 240 square feet of brick pavement repair, and it comes out about 28 square yards. So
Fair enough.
And then the timeline would start the first day.
whenever they actually begin work, when we have a fixed date, we'll send what's called a notice to proceed that authorizes them to begin work and actually begins their date to start. From that point on, it takes 6 days every week is counted towards working days, unless we have -0 or something, snow buried us 6 feet. If we are, I'm not planning to work either, so.
The materials that they ordered, are those imperative for the very first day or first week that they start?
Water line,
Okay,
pipe.
okay. They're gonna be digging and doing all those things, but I get, what I'm getting at is that
Can they start otherwise?
if they start otherwise and then say,
They could cut
oh,
the pavement.
well, it's not in yet, and delay it 2 weeks, and we're,
So
gonna
once
be a-
we start, we're closing half the street in the first block.
right.
So
Yeah.
I'd like to have the pipe in hand, so when we cut the pavement, and we close the street, they can
That's-
start putting.
That's a good policy, yeah.
Yeah, that might be something.
It'd
we
be
wanna
real
follow
hard
up
to
on.
explain to people, oops, we
Yeah, we're already out
we
of
hedged our
materials.
bait. and
Yeah,
I agree.
and if we didn't do that, chances are it would happen.
This time of year, anything can happen.
Yep.
From now until about 12th or 15th of March. So my recommendation to you would be to go ahead and approve this, sign it, and we'll send it back to him. Then we'll hopefully get the plans in. We started the plans after the 20th meeting in December. We have to finish the plans completely because they have to go into KDHE. Now, they've given us a temporary approval to move forward based upon the plans coming in. So, since we already started a block of the project, they know all we're doing is extending it, but they want them in-house for record. So, the contractor doesn't really want to put too many things out there until he actually has those plans in his hand. We're hoping they'll get done this week, so.
Have all the issues been rectified as far as financially and everything on the problem with the clipped storm sewer on the bottom where they did
yes.
that, and the electrical going across?
Yes,
Okay,
that's all.
it's all taken care of to our satisfaction?
I'd move to approve the Sixth Street water line change order with APAC Kansas and authorize the mayor to sign.
I second.
It's been moved by Chuck Lambert, seconded by Mark. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
I'll come back at your next meeting and tell you where we are with time frame.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Resolutions, 2018-2066, corporate limits.
We're gonna wing it, but I might need help.
Loud.
All right.
Rather verbose.
This is the city limits resolution that we're supposed to do it before the end of each year. We're late, sorry. It's before the end of next year anyway, but what we try to do is each time there's an annexation, we revise the city limits ordinance that goes into the Bureau of Census, of several governmental agencies, and helps them define our boundaries for funding that you receive and things like that. So we missed one back in 2010, and then we missed one in 2012.
12 and 16.
12 and 16, no, sorry. I drew the picture in 10, that's how long. It took 2 years to get it through, so, and they're not big tracks. There are 2 tracks. One of them is a tract up on Hill Street where Todd Gannett brought in some land. And this one that's out on the North Development, you see the purple in the corner? That used to be KDOT right-of-way. Old 81 used to turn at that corner with a big radius, and they kept the right-of-way. When they platted, Cloudcore platted that, they couldn't get the right-of-way then. And they negotiated with KDOT, and then Prairie Land decided they want to put a substation there, and they got real good contact with KDOT and were able to obtain that piece of ground that used to be right-of-way. And then we platted it into the North Development as Block A, I believe, or Lot A of Block one. And that's the area that got annexed in. Before it was out because it was right away and KDOT didn't want it in. So. And then there's the one for Mr. Gannett. He brought in a lot, basically 2 full lots in size, but it was parts of 2 lots and 1 full lot.
Move to approve resolution 2018-2066.
Second?
It's been,
Did I say 2018?
2018.
it's 2018.
Oh, sorry.
They're not the sole
My bad. Sorry, guys.
It's been moved by Chuck, seconded by Mark. Do we have any further discussions?
Only, Amy, did they let you know that his responsibilities as city manager that you are required to memorize the corporate city limits? The city limits, the corporate limits.
The legal description of the picture, because I can get the picture, we're good.
We were going to have you read it out loud.
I was just wondering who had to type that initially.
Yeah. Gosh.
Okay.
Before the computers, that was a nightmare.
Should add an extra couple pages.
Any other further questions, discussions? Legit.
Yeah, I think it's fairly.
With done, all approve, all approve, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Resolution passes. Managers report.
Well, thank you for bearing with us through this first commission meeting here, where apparently I don't know as much as we need to go to make it run smooth. So next meeting will be a lot smoother. So far the week's gone pretty well. We've had 1 weekend. City staff has been incredible to work with. Been very patient with all of my questions and askings and just kind of learning each other. A couple items of interest. I did email you about Local Government Day in Topeka being January 24th, and we do have Commissioner Matthew and Commissioner Sacco going with us on those days. So thank you guys for spending some time with us there. I think I also emailed you this afternoon about the annual Cloud Corp luncheon on Tuesday, February 6th at 11:30. A couple of you have already responded, but we do still have 3 spots left. So if you are interested, please let me know.
I want one of those
One of
spots.
the spots. All right, we'll put you down for that one. That's all that I have to report. Do you have any questions at all? No? All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner comments?
I don't have anything.
No.
I'd just like to say that Chuck's done an outstanding job last year, keeping control of this thing. And there's interviews and talks, and of course, we know I won't be as smooth as he was, but that's what I have to put up with me. But Chuck, you did an outstanding job. Thank you. Staff comments. We have a lot going on, huh?
I've been in doing paperwork.
No staff comments? And do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Chuck, seconded by Mark. Any further discussion? If not, we are adjourned. And move on to study session.
Mayor and Commissioners, what we got here is a curb and gutter sidewalk policy. What we basically did was take the curb and gutter policy and add sidewalks to it. And Larry, when he did this, he's also added the code in there where that section 18-116 down there in section 6, defective sidewalks defined. And basically what that says in there is anything that's a ½ inch off is a defective sidewalk. So, I mean, we could probably enforce that through the code enforcement or whatever if you wanted to. But this gives people the chance here to actually come in and apply for these sidewalks to be put in by the city. And they'll have, pay for 1/2 of it up front after they find out what the estimate is and stuff.
So they pay for materials
Only,
only?
yes. Just like the curb and gutter program,
Mhm.
we'd go put it in and they just paid for materials. The city did the labor and removal and haul off and replacing it. I kind of got a process that we're going to go through. First thing is, if this passes next time, we'll advertise it and see if anybody wants to do it. And then give them a month or two to get some of the projects in. And then I'll go out and do estimates. And then we'll end up sending them out agreements with the estimate cost on there. And if they want to do it, they can sign it and send back half the money. And then after we get them back, then we'll bring them to commission and have them approved. And then probably in the falls when I would do them.
So how, if no one comes in, how are we going to go out and actually, for sidewalks that are dangerous, and we have sidewalks out there that are dangerous to walk
Right.
on, are we then going to approach them?
What section is that?
That was section
18-116.
18-116.
No, the other one that describes it as a dangerous structure and then a nuisance. So we can go all over town and
Yeah.
describe those as a dangerous structure
And,
and put some pressure on them.
yes,
But it's like condemning a house. If they're not, if they can't do it, can't afford it, then we have to do it. And someone the bill and then put it as specials on their taxes. So
it'd be like
then
a,
we're right back to where we were before, where we don't give them the option to put it on their taxes anymore. We give them money up front because we're bankrolling them basically. So, but that's the way it works.
it'd be kind of like an abatement then at that point.
Be like a nuisance abatement.
Yep.
So what happens if we don't? I'll throw this to you, Justin. And someone seriously trips and gets hurt. Can they come to the city then? Because the city has not enforced a nuisance law that we have on, ordinance that we have on the books.
So a lot of the times with those is it's going to be, okay, so the way the sidewalk stuff works is they're responsible for maintaining that,
Yes.
correct? So
That's-
with that in there, that alleviates a lot of the liability on our part, because they're responsible for maintaining that sidewalk. Now, if somebody trips and falls, are they gonna sue the homeowner? Yeah, they're likely gonna sue the county or the city as well. We can't stop them from doing that. However, we are insulated quite a bit by the fact that it's their responsibility to do it. And also, we're not gonna necessarily know about every single sidewalk and a defect in every sidewalk. So generally, the threshold here that we look at is, did we know or should we have known that there was something there? So we would argue in that situation, we didn't know nor should we have known because it's the landowner's responsibility, the homeowner's responsibility to maintain that sidewalk. So with what we have in place, we're pretty well covered.
That 18-16 what it says right there, that pretty much covers it.
Yeah, 18-116, it shall be unlawful for the owner of any property having a sidewalk adjacent thereto to permit any brick, stone, or segment of such sidewalk to be raised above the established level of the sidewalk more than 1/2 of an inch in any manner which might catch the feet of pedestrians or permit any hole or depression to occur in the sidewalk in which pedestrians might step or catch their feet in a manner likely to cause injury. So with that statute, or with that ordinance there, in a lot of ways, we're gonna be just fine. Procedurally, what ends up happening though is that you go and find a plaintiff attorney, and he's gonna wanna sue the city as well, because they're gonna see us as a deep pocket, and we turn it over to the insurance, and the insurance will essentially tell them, we're not responsible for this. But we are safe from a defense standpoint, we can defend ourselves in something like this, because it's not essentially our responsibility, but they could still.
Yeah, because if you got somebody that can't afford to do it, then, somebody's not going to sue them. They're going to come directly to the city.
And even if those are folks who couldn't afford to do
Yeah.
it, they're still gonna sue us anyway.
Bruno, Ron, where do the sidewalks that were brick that have completely grown over with grass, where do those fall into the,
It's a maintenance issue too.
yeah,
Just like the tree roots heating them up.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's all a maintenance issue. In my opinion, and that law was put in 71, and as far as I know, it's never been enforced. It's never been enforced since I've been here. I've been playing about sidewalks for 15 years.
And I don't want to get off on a tangent, but there's also a lot of sidewalks in town, you know, when I go for walks and stuff, that you have to walk clear out in a yard because people have their branches and evergreens sticking out over the whole sidewalk. I mean, from 2 feet up.
Now, you could call us on them and tell us where they're at, and we could do an abatement notice on them.
We do abatements on those all the
Yeah.
time. Bushes hanging over, people have, we had high school kids walking in my puddle because of obstructions, you know, they get off the
Yeah.
sidewalk and stuff, right on 11, so we usually get on them, we get reports of them. But there's a few, quite a few out there.
And if we know where they are, we can send them something and get started on a process.
Yeah.
What I'd really like to see is, I mean, I don't want this to be a punitive process. I understand that's going to be just the nature of some of this. I'd really like it to be an opportunity that our citizens take advantage of. I know that not everybody has the funds immediately available to do that. I recognize that. I don't. I want to have safe walking sidewalks. I want to have it the way it needs to be. So I don't know where that gray area is between pursuing it as a nuisance abatement and getting people to sign up on their own, and we just have to run the course and let it be neutral, fair to all parties. But I want this to be an opportunity for folks to take pride in their homes and to make it better, not to be as a punishment, but I also understand if there's opportunity given that and they don't take the steps necessary, there's not much we can do on that end either.
I say just to go a few years and see what we do get for sidewalk removal and how many people want to do it. I know when I first started the curb and gutter program, there was like 20, 30 of them a year, and then it just started dropping off. You know, the people with the money is going to do them first.
I think where you have, you know, you got to draw the line someplace, but I mean, I agree with Chuck, but I think, you know, there's some in town that are just obviously are hazards.
Yeah.
And it's a safety issue, and it just needs, you know, the property owner needs to take responsibility for that if it's a safe, I mean, you know, when you're talking about it can't be a half an inch over or whatever, if we get down to that, it's gonna be difficult. But I mean, there's sidewalks that are heaved up, and I mean, in front of my house, I've got some bricks that are by a tree that are coming up like that, and they need to flatten those out. But there's also sidewalks that you can trip on, you can't even hardly ride a bicycle on them.
Well, there's sidewalks all over where people would prefer to walk in the street.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Walks because they, you know, the roller coaster sidewalks.
But I think putting the program out there and making the public aware of it, and I agree. I think we just need to see how well it's received and how many people do it, and then assess it after that.
I've got a little bit of experience with general pressure, like on some of these buildings that are falling apart. You know, since 1907, we've gotten 60, 80, I think 87 houses tore down, and we've only condemned a handful. But you tell people and let them know, and they push back, and you say, well, here, you know, it's dangerous things falling off of it, and if you don't do something, we'll condemn it. By the way, we have this demo program that helps you pay for it. That kind of thing.
That's kind of like this sidewalk, by having this program out there.
That's what
I mean, if someone would get hurt and say it did go, because they're looking for the city, the deep pockets, that makes the city even look better. Because we've offered this program, they just cover the materials, and they could have taken advantage of something like that.
We can say, hey, not only is this not our responsibility, we also offer a program to help those folks.
Yes,
Alleviate your cost, so.
yeah, I like that.
One thing that I will point out, that if you remember, it used to be on the curb and gutter program, you could put it on your taxes. And we're eliminating that, which I'm not sure how that's gonna work out, because I think some people would maybe, but then we'd be bankrolling it, of course, for 15 years or 30 years, or however long it goes. But in some of these cases where people maybe can't afford it, but maybe they can afford, you know, $50 or $100 more
Yeah.
on their taxes for 15 years, instead of, if we try to force it on them and then put it as specials, it's all got to be paid at once, or
You know, something like that, you know, I would prefer that than leaving a sidewalk unsafe
right.
and having someone get injured.
And ultimately, I think it's the better of the whole community. I mean, I think I would rather have us have our curbs and gutters and our sidewalks in shape, knowing that we may have to finance some of that through taxes, but that the overall presentation of our community is improved. I would rather have that than.
Well, it's the same way when you condemn a house, sometimes they just walk away from it, you know, you get.
You're stuck with it that way.
$10,000, so then 4 years it goes to sheriff's sale and then it's over with, and that's about all you do. But
We can build into it both, where we would say, we have this language where it says you pay the first half up front and the second half, later, or in special situations or certain situations, it can be applied as, on the taxes or whatever it may be. We can do anything.
Well,
I mean,
I wouldn't be against that.
so that if it, so then what it allows is those who can pay for it see that and go, okay, I need to pay for it. But those who maybe can't can come and say, well, hey, listen, I need to get this fixed. It's in quite a bit of disrepair, and maybe give us some discretion. Maybe if it's something that's in terrible disrepair, then we allow that. If it's something that's not as bad, wait to let them do that.
Yeah, I'd be in favor of that.
And we're talking about doing this for sidewalks only, not the curb and gutter.
That would be something to look out for the financing is during budget time is to set back some money in the CIP for that. That's what we used to have for the gutter and stuff, so.
Right.
If they wanted to finance it, they could. If they didn't want to, they didn't have to.
I think that's why Larry was looking at this option, because like you said, when you started the curb and gutter program, you had like 30 people right away. Well, you're
That had
talking
a lot of money.
a lot of money that first year to fund that if you're putting it on special.
I think start it this way,
Yeah.
this year, and then
Later on,
maybe finance some next year or something.
See how it goes.
Just try to
see
like
what
this
everybody-
and then build in a special assessment option perhaps later. So,
And put it this way, if someone really came to us and said, I don't have the money, but I really need to do this, then that's something we could look at.
Yeah, we could probably.
Case by
I
case.
could do it out of depending on the size of the project, you could probably do it out of the budget.
Yeah.
What budget I have in
But
maintenance.
we could take that as a case by case.
Yes.
Well, and you can have a qualifying, income level, like the rehab programs we did with housing and stuff, there was qualifying levels. If they
Yeah.
wanna say, well, that relax, I can't afford it, but we can help with that on the tax end or something, if you qualify. Something
If
like
it's-
that, just suggestion.
If it's feasible, I would like to be able to have a conversation with anyone who's willing to improve their property.
Yes.
And whatever boundaries, whatever restrictions, guidelines we need to have in place in order for us to do that, let's try to figure that out. Maybe it's taken a year to see how this all works, but if there's a resident of Concordia that wants to improve their property, let's have a conversation about how to make that happen.
Okay.
I agree.
I have one other question. Maybe I'm just being too picky, but when we're talking about sidewalks, are we just talking about the sidewalks that are parallel to the
Public
streets?
sidewalk, yes.
Public sidewalks.
One parallel.
Does it say that in here?
It doesn't say that, well, it's not real clear.
Okay, I think that maybe we need to make that clear. I mean, at my house, we have a sidewalk that goes back to the garage, and I would not anticipate that the city would have any interest in.
But like, I have a
improving that.
sidewalk that goes from the street to my sidewalk, and then naturally one that goes up to the house from there, but, excuse me, it only does the one that's parallel with the street.
Yes. the
It
street-
doesn't do the one from
good catch.
that sidewalk to the street.
Right, unless it's on a corner.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
understood,
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. So we
So
probably
the
should
street
clarify.
to
that.
the sidewalk is
Right
not-
at the beginning of public improvement, so maybe that's where it's going.
The sidewalk from, the sidewalk to the street is in the right of way, so isn't that a public sidewalk?
That is a right of way, yeah.
It's in the right of way, but it's not public
Not a
sidewalk.
private sidewalk?
No,
Because it's just serves their house.
You're gonna have to define how you're gonna do that. It's gonna have to be parallel to the front of the house, parallel to the
Well, it
sidewalk.
says in here somewhere it's adjacent to the property, is what I thought I seen that.
Adjacent property owner, no.
No, that's true.
I think you could make a solid argument that from the street to the sidewalk.
Yes,
Could be.
but
It's in,
that's the public sidewalk.
Right. And
Yeah,
it's
but
to
that-
access that, if it's to access that public sidewalk.
That's
Well-
probably why this hasn't been done in the past.
no. I may be able to shed some light on that. That sidewalk isn't required.
Okay.
Oh, it's not.
and it's not required to be maintained, it's not required to be built. Those are put in all the time by private property.
So we use the term required sidewalk.
Not only that, and a lot of them are not, they're not required to be ADA either. So, I mean, there's gonna be a step there. Most of your public sidewalks are ADA.
Now, when you redo all the sidewalks, do they have the, for people with cane, blind, people with canes, the bumps, the speed bumps?
Truncated domes.
Yeah.
Well, they ain't all truncated domes. They're grooved with, most of them in town are grooved.
Yeah.
Everything that goes in new will be truncated domes.
They changed the
Yeah.
So we need to define the public sidewalk that's covered by this.
Yes. Would the best definition be then ones that have to be maintained?
Required.
All sidewalks required to be maintained pursuant to.
Per se ordinance.
Well, that's a good question, I'm certain from the curb up, but it is in the public right of way, but that's not a public driveway, either is it? What? The driveway certainly in the right of way. If it's in the right of way, you're using the city's easement to put your driveway in.
Does it define here? Sidewalk?
Some of them said what's in the public zone,
Really?
And we're talking about sidewalk. I can see that be the first thing somebody would ask. I have a sidewalk goes from my house to the curb. I don't have one in front of me. We have a lot of those.
Right.
Well, 18th Street's a good example. We don't
I
have
just took up
sidewalk on
1,300
18th
bricks
Street.
and
Built.
for
But
the
we have a lot
sidewalk.
of sidewalks that go from the curb
I
to
could
the house.
redo my one at the other house.
And they apply for it back to the right of way. Those are great questions. I mean, I don't think that's what the intent is. The intent is try to do all that mostly the public walks on and not the private citizen walk.
How about if we work on the definition of that offline and make sure he brings back a highlight next week?
Get one
I was thinking about something that uses it as a common thoroughfare for the public or something, because they don't, the public's
see
not
how
always gonna
complicated
use that.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna,
Whatever
okay,
government.
we'll have a really nice complicated legal definition.
Make sure he's
Yeah, exactly.
We'll work on that one offline.
There we go, yeah. That's gonna be a lot of emails. Yeah, I'm not seeing a definition.
Rob, what else did you have on this one?
I think that's it.
I think
If we get it passed next time, we can ask the media to blast it on the radio and everything, so.
Oh, I think that's already gonna be blessed.
Yeah. I think, general consensus of the commissioners is we want it.
No, I want to tell you
Paid
too,
advertising.
though, is my consensus, I think this thing's gonna start off maybe big, maybe I'm wrong. And if it does, I'm gonna probably limit it to about a month and a half's worth of sidewalk building.
Sure.
And then push it off to the next year. And I'm just kind of bring them in and do them as they come in. Unless they're adjacent to each other, then I might shift them for.
Sure.
And I think it's important that we stress when we put it out to the public that we're doing it for public safety and, yeah.
And that, I love complicated things. That may be a factor too, and as you consider which ones to do, if there are some that are grossly out of sorts, that may want to get our attention first, and you kind of whittle them down.
I think it's a good deal.
Yep. We could break up one discussion groups if you like.
That covers everybody. I mean, if they want to do it in the downtown, we'll be doing it down there too. They'll just be, when we tear it out, they'll be inconvenienced. I mean, we got the eye doctor right across the street here. I could see him wanting on that program. Because we've already wrote him a letter, told him to fix the sidewalk. And we went in and fixed ours, and he just needs to finish his, so I can see where he gets in on that.
Sure.
Quick question. I'm looking here at like 18, 205, 206, where we spell out the width, location, specification stuff in the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Just as So-
width, 5 foot.
Working on a definition in my head though, but those that would maybe not run parallel, that would be running up to that sidewalk, they're not, anybody can just build that, that doesn't
Yeah.
have to meet that specification, correct? Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought, it's a.
Some of them are like 2 foot wide.
Yeah, they're 2 foot wide, or they're like some paving rock or,
Right.
you know, or, okay. Excellent,
Everything we got is gonna be 5 foot wide.
okay.
Yeah, minimum.
Well,
Is there any
that's
other questions?
definition. In accordance with 18205.
Yeah, that would pretty well limit
Yeah,
it.
that would.
Uh-huh,
Mhm.
yeah.
That sounds way too simple.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry, I'll make it more complicated than that.
Is there any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marlon.